Cool beans. Anyway.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
To another episode of Chatting Cinema.
Hey there.
I'm Flynn,
I'm Gianni.
I'm Luke.
and today we thought it might be fun to kind of springboard off of one another and pitch some of the things we might like to see on Disney Plus in the future. So Disney owns a whole heck of a lot of things.
Very much
Yeah.
intellectual property.
Yes, and
Yeah.
they can make a lot of content with a lot of things that we love. So Luke, I think you have some ideas, yeah?
Oh, yes, I do. This is something I've thought about quite a lot because one of my favorite things that has come with streaming services is a lot more people are getting chances to make things that wouldn't have been made, that wouldn't work on the screen or on a network. So you can get creative, you can do weirder things because the people who want to watch it will, and it won't be like you have to have cable and watch this channel or you have to go to the movies. So this opens the doors for a lot of things. So my first thing is a Star Wars show because, as we know, we all love Star Wars. We very much so watch the Star Wars retrospective series.
Yes.
Anyways,
I like Star
my
Wars.
first pitch, this has been a dream of mine for a long time that they make this. I would love to help make it, but it is a Black Mirror anthology series style Star
Wow.
Wars because this universe needs to be expanded. There has been many years of books and comics and whatever you like that has now become legends, which is fine. That was a very much so needed move by
Yeah.
Disney. But if you want to expand this universe in the right way and you want to let a bunch of different people get their hands on it and let them just flex and like the way The Mandalorian was where different directors
Yeah.
did different episodes. This is the perfect outlet for that where they can explore any crevice of the universe, any planet, any character, any time period. All you have to do is just tell us when and where in the
Right.
beginning of the episode. And I feel like there's so much room for that where also this could be where Disney Plus takes a little step away from kids content because
Yeah.
let's be real, Disney, you bought a lot of content that adults love.
Yeah.
It's great that you're making it so kids can watch everything, but at the end of the day, sometimes you got to make some things that are a little more mature, a little more
Right.
dark.
Yeah.
So I think this is like a perfect start for Disney to make Star Wars bigger.
Yeah, I really like that because I know that some people kind of clamor to make the movies darker in one sense or the other, and I know that when Benioff and Weiss from Game of Thrones were attached to make Star Wars films, that people were kind of hoping they were dark like Game of Thrones, but I think that something like this would be the perfect way. Yeah, something
Wore
like
my
this
throne
would be
shirt
the
today.
the perfect way to like make that dark content and make sure it's like it's not the big thing that's consumed by everyone and still keep that for everybody, but still have this darker subsection which we know is there. Like the films have plenty of darkness that is to be explored, and I love that so much because you just think of think of cantina scenes. Like how many cracks and crevices are there in the Star Wars universe that we kind of want to
Like every character in
dig
that
into a
cantina
little
has
bit more,
story.
right?
You know, they come from a planet. They have how did they get there? Why are they there? Because a lot of times it's the best of the scum and villainy
Yeah.
in those cantinas. I think there's just so much room for it, and I think it would be eaten up by fans
I think so too.
who
Yeah.
love and hate whatever Star Wars.
Oh,
media.
yeah. Absolutely.
Like, because it'll be episode to episode where like people who love Rose there could be an episode with Rose, and like
Yeah.
these actors would come back and do it. They love Star Wars.
Yeah.
And like, give us an episode with Wedge. Why not?
Yeah. Tell
Or-
as many stories as
or
possible.
come up with completely new characters. Maybe give us an episode with like some of the Rogue One characters. Like whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
This is like the recipe book of whatever you want, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like that's why Black Mirrors work so well.
Oh, yeah.
Show me how Elise Sleaze Bagano started selling death sticks.
I would watch that episode.
I would too.
I would. I have another show idea if you guys don't have one ready.
You go ahead.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
So here's the deal. We were talking about Brad Bird off camera.
Yes. He's
Give
so
me
talented.
like a 1950s, 1960s vintage style Incredible show that follows all those other heroes. And like make it like the old Batman show or make it
Very
like a crime
cool.
thriller show.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there is so many interesting characters to find, and like Pixar is they might be doing that Monsters Inc. show. I think they are.
Yeah.
So this shows that they might do this, and you don't have to make it like season after season. Like let Brad Bird do 8 episodes, and then a couple years later do another bunch. But with like their market for superheroes and how well they sell, that show would work so well. Like they just have to play to the fact of like the time period, and I think that's what would separate it from Marvel. you know?
I am so into that. I love that opening of Incredibles, the interview
Exactly.
scenes,
Exactly.
and all these. That is a great
I've
idea.
always wondered how did it get to that point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we see it, but like there's so much more to it. There's
Yeah.
so much more to it, and there's so many cool characters you could follow. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I mean, just get Samuel L. Jackson as Frozone as much as possible, because that is the best
Yeah.
Pixar character.
That kind of bleeds into the idea that I had, which we were talking about this a little earlier too, like this mockumentary style kind of either show or movie. I think it's only a matter of time before we get another one, either
Right.
from Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, or Disney. That's in lieu of Parks and Rec or The Office. So I've been thinking about how many of the major studios today are taking like iconic characters and kind of putting them next to humans, like clearly iconic cartoon characters. Like we had Detective Pikachu last year.
Right.
We have Sonic coming out this year.
Can't wait.
Can't
Valentine's
wait.
Day, baby.
I'm excited. I think it's gonna be like the Deadpool for this Valentine's Day. Like Sonic, I think it's gonna surprise people.
Yeah.
I hope it does. I don't know.
Are you taking your girlfriend to see?
I want to
Sonic?
see it. That's the plan.
Oh, he's gonna do it.
I want to see it.
You're locked in. It's on the podcast.
It's coming out. Be ready for my review. So, I see a mockumentary style series, either like I don't know, with the classic Disney characters. Like we have Goofy, Minnie, Mickey Mouse. I want like a really sassy, done with it Mickey Mouse
Oh,
Ooh.
paired with Finn Wolfhard.
okay.
And either Minnie or Donald Duck, someone goes missing, and like that can be your premise, at least for season 1.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find this missing character, and I think that'd be such a fun
Wow.
like
I
a fun
love
premise. And it doesn't have to be like we're trying to make Mickey look real in our
Right.
world. That'd be weird.
No, yeah,
do it
don't
like
do.
Roger
Please,
Rabbit
yeah,
style.
please don't do that.
I think it should be.
Rabbit.
Yeah, I was
Right.
just gonna say Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I
Yeah.
think that should be the style. But like just to have Mickey on like a couch chair,
Yeah.
saying
It would
like
be
I'm done with
great-
this. Like,
It would be great too if they play to the fact that like Walt Disney World is real.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
they go like maybe Mickey lives in the tunnels that they
Right.
speak about, like all the characters. But there's a whole place under there.
Right.
Yeah.
But it would be
an underground
hilarious.
city.
Just
like a Wreck-It Ralph kind of thing. Yeah.
That would be because they have so much characters that they could do that with
Yeah,
too. From
yeah.
like all their original animated characters to they could put Marvel heroes in if they wanted
yeah.
to. Like
Yeah.
who cares? Or like just have Robert Downey Jr. be in it as him because like Mickey Mouse could be like, yeah, I'm an actor too, Robert. Like I played Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Like, how funny would that be?
Yeah.
Yeah, as someone who really adores Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like one of my favorite movies of all time, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh my god, I love that.
I would love that, like a 2D animated Mickey
Yeah.
alongside Finn Wolfhard, who can do no wrong. He's so great. As far as what I would like to say, we talked about Brad Bird earlier with Luke's show, and I love that. I would really like Brad Bird to do Fantastic Four. I don't know if you do that on Disney Plus. I think that the cast I want for Fantastic Four is a little priced out, and I think they'd rather do that as a movie. But one show I'd really like to see is just like a Rogue Squadron show that takes place in the original trilogy, because it's nice because you can just have all different characters. Like, you know, what is Dak doing before Empire Strikes Back? maybe he's on some missions, but it's nice because there's like, it's not like Force Awakens and Last Jedi where it kind of opens up right away. There's time in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and I think that you could have a really fun show with characters that you really like almost like a Firefly type show, like in space, going on all these missions, and like, you know, it's almost like a cop procedural type thing that people just like eat up, but with different characters, and you don't have to like try and find somebody who looks like young Luke Skywalker, like, or, you know, have Han Solo in it. You can just have these new characters that we really like, and it could inject some diversity into Star Wars because you can pick whoever you want. Some really cool new additions to the canon while not upsetting anything that like you really have room to play around if you do something like this with the gap we have. Because, you know, it's the Empire. They're all over the place. Like, show me some stealth missions. Show me some dog fights. Some, like, World War ones that, you know, like,
and there's definitely like plenty of planets the Empire like takes over but doesn't care about after the fact, and like they could be freeing those planets.
right,
That
yeah.
would be so cool to see.
Yeah, and one thing that people felt was kind of lacking in the sequel trilogy that they really like with the prequels is like inventive planet design, and this just opens up the door for like, it's a galaxy, like there are planets we haven't talked about, like just do that. And for anybody that played Jedi Fallen Order or knows the story, there's a mission in that game where Cal Kestis goes to Kashyyyk and helps free some Wookiees with Saw Gerrera from Rogue One.
Yeah.
That's epic.
And
Yeah.
it's so cool, and like that's the type of thing I want to see. Like, let me see the Rebel Alliance's liberators like as the underdogs fighting the Empire. Like I think that Mandalorian, even though it takes place after Return of the Jedi, like aesthetically with the old stormtrooper costumes, it's so cool to kind of just like go around in this world we like know like the back of our hands, and like you were saying with your anthology series, like find new areas to talk about. So I think that could be really fun, like a Rogue Squadron show.
Yeah, definitely.
I got one.
Okay.
This just came to me and it makes me so excited. So it's another Lucasfilm property because it's one that's extremely slept on. Give me an Indiana Jones show.
Ooh.
Like it.
New cast, young actor.
Who would you cast as Indiana Jones?
Oh my God.
'Cause it's kind of impossible,
yeah.
right?
It is, but also they managed to cast another Han Solo, and Harrison Ford would always say, like, no, you can cast another, like, who
That's
cares?
true.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to me because, I mean, this was like a few years ago when Indiana Jones 5 was like, is Harrison Ford gonna come back? The big names that got thrown around were Bradley Cooper and Chris Pratt as the two.
I feel like Bradley Cooper would kill that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Oh my God.
for like it feels so impossible to cast somebody new in a role like that. But like, River Phoenix plays young Indy, and he's great. So I think that if you capture the spirit of a character, you can
my
really.
idea for the show would be, like, it's almost like, this is such a weird comparison when I say it, but it makes sense, though, where it's like Doctor Who, where the mantle can be passed. It can be a different
Ooh,
person
okay.
playing Indy. It's just different adventures at different times. So like a guy could be Indy for a couple of seasons. Because also like it's the Bond effect too, where
That's
like
true.
somebody else plays the character. Doctor
Yeah.
Who makes it part of the story.
Yeah.
But for Bond, it's just so it's timeless.
Right.
So I think Indiana Jones, like, for some reason, like, I just feel like it would work really good as a TV show where like you
Yeah.
have adventures.
No, I agree. Yeah.
And like a dude could play Bond for one season, be like, all right, I'm done. And
Yeah.
then be like, okay, new Bond, different era, different time, whatever.
Right.
Or not
right.
Bond. Wow,
Indy.
I said it.
Yeah.
New
New Indy.
That's what I meant. But yeah, no, I feel, and it's just sitting there. They're not using it.
Yeah.
And he's such a great character. And those original 3 movies, yeah, I'm not acknowledging the 4th. Those original 3 are wonderful. And like, you just have to find that spirit of like, this is just an adventure movie.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
a fun
adventure
character to
and-
follow,
yeah.
and find good people to put around them. You
Mhm.
know, like I feel like that would work really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Some fun filming locations.
And you know
too.
what's great about these pitches is like, and I think more directors are definitely open to it, especially like big name directors like Tarantino just announced that he wants to do a TV show similar to Bounty
Bounty
Law.
Law.
Yeah, I
That'd
mean,
be
like,
epic.
I think directors are open to directing episodes
Yes.
of television.
Yeah.
And, like, if you look at
Mandalorian.
shows like The Mandalorian, to me at least, every episode feels like its own contained sort of short film. And I think that, you know, that's something that a lot of directors can put their footprint on in these individual shows.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that television now, and I'm including streaming in this, like the era of like prestige TV when you have the Mad Men's, the Breaking Bads, the Game of Thrones, and
Right.
it just feels like hit after hit. And I think that, like you're saying, like directors are kind of realizing like they want to do that because some of the best content coming out is on television,
Yeah.
and you look at the jump that, you know, somebody like Ryan Johnson made, or the Russo brothers went from Community to last year directing the biggest movie of all time. Like,
Big oof.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, so I think that directors kind of recognize, like, you know, there are stories to be told. Companies are now putting up the money to tell them in a proper way, and there's clearly things to be, you know, picked up from that. We touched on a young Han Solo being casted, and something that I am certainly not the first person to suggest this at all, but doing a Solo show on Disney Plus is something that I would really, really be into.
A solo show.
So Solo. I think Alden Ehrenreich is so good in Solo, and I feel like it's such a shame that it kind of like fell by the wayside, and not everybody saw it, and people were kind of like counting him out from the beginning, like nobody can be Han Solo. It's Harrison Ford, when Harrison Ford doesn't care.
Right.
You know what a show like that show I think would work with the format of Sherlock.
Okay.
Oh, like
The
an
thing
hour and a
too,
half
yeah.
episode? Or?
Yeah, and they only release like a couple a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they feel more like movies.
Yeah.
So that's how you get the movie guys involved,
Yeah.
because they're not like, a lot of them want to make movies, they don't want
Right.
to make shows. I feel, and then also they're their own contained stories of like following Han doing this,
Right.
following Han doing that, and then you can explore like Crimson Sun more.
Yeah.
and Kira,
Yeah.
and like
And, like-
my dude Childish Landino.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people too would eat that up, because I feel like Solo gained a lot more, not only viewership but respect after it debuted on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like so many people have seen it now.
Retrospectively, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that people hold it in pretty high regards now.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about the Sherlock format, and like the beauty of the streaming services, like we touched on. Like, it's not network television, it's not cable. Like, you don't have to be like, okay, I have this idea for the story I want to tell, but I can't get it to 12, 13, 20 episodes,
Right.
Like, you can just do something like that, like short films, and I think people would go nuts for it. And now that Mandalorian's over, people are kind of clamoring for what's next from Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Which we do have Clone Wars.
Yes, Clone Wars is coming less than a month now. Awesome. And I think it's smart because they're going to do weekly releases again. I think that's the way to go, because it fills up more time. Because I can only imagine like the complaints about Disney Plus if Mandalorian dropped on day one.
Yeah.
And you had all of it, and then everybody binged it, and then people had nothing to watch for
Right.
like
Meanwhile, there's an extensive library.
it's
of some of the best movies.
insane how much is on Disney Plus. There's nothing left on Disney Plus. It's like, are you kidding me?
kidding? Apparently, High School Musical, the show,
High School Musical, the series.
That's
I've heard
correct.
it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
but
I
there's so like
Diary of a Future President looks pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I've heard
Like,
that was cool too.
Yeah.
I'm down for more docu-series too.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten through all of the Imagineering story yet, but that was something that was really fascinating to me, taking a behind the scenes look at some of what goes into Disney Imagineering. As far as the parks are concerned, I mean, there's so much material there, and like, I think it's so smart to have stuff on Disney Plus too that would like typically be Blu-ray extras. Not saying you can't still include it like that, but
Yeah.
like the documentary they made during Last Jedi, the director and the Jedi, like, have those behind the scenes documentaries and release them on Disney Plus. Because if I go to see Black Widow, right, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really loved Black Widow, like, and then I can go home within the next couple of days and watch a documentary for an hour and a half about how it was made. Like, that's content too. It doesn't have
I
to
would
be
eat
like
that up.
narrative based,
Yeah,
storytelling.
Especially like the immediacy of it. Like,
Yeah.
if I watch a movie and then I can go home and watch
Right.
behind the scenes immediately.
Yeah,
I love that.
like,
Yeah.
and more like movies with commentary being uploaded. There's so much to do in Disney Plus, and I think that people are already like selling it short, despite how incredible The Mandalorian was.
Right.
You're always like, oh, what's next? And I think that it hasn't even like begun
they
to
don't
tap
appreciate what they
the
have.
potential. Yeah, like their set photos coming out from Falcon and Winter Soldier of U.S. Agent.
Oh
He
my
looks so
goodness.
good. The costume looks amazing.
Yeah.
It's like once those Marvel shows start rolling out, nobody's gonna be saying anything.
And yeah, and
Right.
there's a ton planned, and so it's just gonna start hitting.
And like the What If show is gonna be.
I'm so
phenomenal,
excited
'cause
for
they're
that.
some of the best comics I've
Yeah.
ever read. Like, it's just such a fun premise in
Yeah.
itself that like people will stop complaining once that happens.
and that's
Yeah.
what your Star Wars anthology show reminds me of. That
Yeah,
like
basically Star
telling
Wars
that
What If,
telling
yeah.
those stories. You could even do that animated. I'd be down for more animated Star Wars stuff because of how
Yeah.
good Clone Wars is and
Right.
and Rebels. And yeah, I think they're just this is what streaming is to me. I think telling stories that don't typically get told traditionally. I think that is the biggest benefit, and that
That's why I think Netflix is killing the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it needs to be utilized for. So things like this, just like stories that aren't getting told. John Chu wants to make a Rose Tico series. Please make it.
Yeah.
Do it. Like, tell these stories, and that way, like, you can't please everyone, and everyone's gonna find everything to complain about. But if you're telling all these stories, people are like, oh well, I can pick this to watch and enjoy it. Like, everybody disappointed with Rise of Skywalker because it didn't include Rose, rightfully so, can have that Disney Plus series and be
Right.
like, okay, well, at least I got to see these stories, and the people that liked Rise of Skywalker still have Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
there's so much potential, and not to be like Disney, you have all the money in the world, but Disney, you have all the money in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And one thing I think that Disney absolutely is amazing with is inclusivity, where their princesses cover so many different cultures
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And I don't know if you guys remember the show American Dragon Jake Long.
yes. Yeah.
So that show, I grew up watching that, and then like Jackie Chan Adventures, like.
I have a real soft spot in my heart for Jackie Chan
Exactly.
Adventures.
But those shows, like, or even Emperor's New Groove, like, they show different cultures and different things. And, like, Moana does that. And, like, Princess and the Frog does that. Like, their movies are starting to be all over the place. Make some shows about that.
Yeah.
Those old Disney shows, while they weren't as quality as the movies, like, this is the place you can do it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
And, like, if you release an episode once a week, kids will eat that
Yeah.
up. And they can watch it on their phones. Like, that's even better than having to wait on TV.
And I'm kind of like, traditional Disney animation still holds up so well, and I'm kind of longing for that like 2D animated style. I would
Even if
really
it's
like to
still
see
the
something
new
like
stuff.
that.
Even
Yeah,
if it's
no,
still the
that's
new
fine
stuff,
too.
yeah.
But like, get some people on that. I'm genuinely really surprised after maybe not the reception to Wreck-It Ralph 2 as a film, but that initial trailer with the scene with all the princesses. I thought for sure that was like a Disney Plus series, like in the making, like all of them together.
yeah.
Like, I thought that would
so
already
meta.
be I thought that would already be in development.
Well, the world of Wreck-It Ralph alone could be its own series down
Absolutely.
the line. You know.
Especially because Disney owns like half the video games in the world
Yeah.
now. So,
Yeah.
and they're starting to form a partnership with Sony, even though neither of them want it. But yeah,
Yeah, they're just
There's so much potential. You know.
and like
stories.
Pixar, there's so like I could think of a show based off of every Pixar movie.
Yeah.
pretty
Oh,
much.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
can you
100%.
imagine? This would be absolutely hilarious. An Inside Out show from the point of view of like the school's counselor,
Yeah.
and like, oh my god,
That's brilliant.
Wow.
and it can hit on like mental health.
Yes,
and, like,
yes.
The importance of like normalizing it for kids, like being like, listen, you
Yes.
have anxiety, that's fine, that's normal, and show their emotions
Right.
going through.
Yeah,
it. Like,
keep it fresh. Show like
Yeah.
how that it's almost like Magic School Bus, like
Oh
like
my
learning
God.
wise,
Oh my
like
God.
like have a different like
love that.
yeah, like
Disney,
and really
hire
delve
us.
into that.
Yeah.
That
Hire
is
us.
That's
that's
genius.
genius. That's
That
really
would be
good.
so
That's
good.
like-
Well,
that was
because
amazing.
Inside Out is one of the most brilliant, clever movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're developing a sequel, but like the way that movie is so smart,
Mhm.
and like they need to do more with it. It was so good.
Yeah, and it makes kids feel seen, like
Yeah.
like not enough. I think we're getting more and more now, but for so long there were so many things that kind of just like treat kids as secondary and,
Yeah.
and don't feel like
Whereas
their
Riley
emotions
is
are
the most
genuine.
important thing
Yeah.
in that movie.
It's
Definitely.
And it's
so
like
good.
dealing
Very,
with
very
something
good.
so many kids deal with, moving. That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially because she moved to a completely new city.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And like
Yeah, in the
explore that
middle
a
of
show.
growing up, like
Yeah.
Inside Out is great.
Yeah.
Oh my god, so many good show ideas.
I mean, we were talking earlier about all the content that these streaming services have planned. I mean, Netflix has something like, what, 20, 25 original films coming out this year?
But
Yeah.
you know they need to because they're starting to lose all their contracts with all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
people. So
Well, and Disney has a couple, like, original films already out
well,
Right.
they had the Christmas movie with
with Anna Kendrick and Bill
Kendrick.
Hader. Yeah.
Noel.
Noel,
Yeah.
yeah. They have Togo with Willem Dafoe,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which I feel
that's
like
coming.
no one's talking about.
I didn't even know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think they're going to get to a point where they start putting their movies in theaters? Similar to what
Ooh.
Netflix is doing? Like,
You know, I think that there could be a market for it.
I think so too.
where
I
like,
mean,
because Netflix owns a theater in LA, right?
Yeah.
And they put their originals in that theater,
Yeah.
like a limited release.
Right.
Like now, granted, this is what happened in Monopolies, and like,
Yeah.
they
Right.
broke it up because studios used to own theaters. But honestly, I could see an argument for streaming services maybe working with Regal and AMC to be
Mhm.
like, all right, Regal is a company that shows Netflix and Hulu movies.
yeah.
Or like and then AMC shows Disney movies and whatever, like,
Okay.
but streaming only. Like, this doesn't apply to blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, it's really interesting because it's like there's typically not a setup like this. The traditional is the streaming service is the studio,
Right.
like the Netflixes and the Amazon Prime movies that end up in theaters that end up as prestige sort of Oscar movies.
Yeah.
But Disney has their own film studios, multiple film studios now. So the question becomes like, does Disney Plus get its own studio?
Yeah.
And then that's like specifically content for that, and then that's going into and does that kind of break down the barrier because people are still like, Netflix films. I think this is kind of the year that killed it. The Netflix films don't deserve to be in the Oscars.
Yeah.
I think that's dead for good, but still, like, kind of breaking down the barriers. We're blurring these lines of who makes what, when, where. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I think competition is great, and now that like Amazon Prime is turning out great movies, and Netflix is, and Disney is, it's like they all have to up their game
Right.
constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now it's not just like, oh, who's gonna go see my movie in theater? It's who's gonna pay monthly to have my service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you have to convince people monthly it's worth keeping, and like if I mean yeah we have to pay, but it's in our favor right now.
Yeah.
Where like they're gonna be listening to us more.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's so interesting watching these things like transform. Like, who would have thought that like Marriage Story would come from the company that was sending DVDs
Yeah.
like not that long ago,
Like
like
2010.
yeah. So I think that Disney Plus kind of has the benefit of not having to grow right away. Like
Right.
it's
They
it's
already
being
have-
bankrolled by
They
one of the
already
biggest
have
companies in the world.
studios,
Yeah.
You know, and like now that they've like absorbed Lucasfilm
And all the
Marvel,
intellectual property, yeah.
it's like, geez, like what can't they make?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think that there's like a number of superheroes kind of like I'm really interested to see how the Disney Plus Marvel shows work because there's contention with the Netflix shows with Daredevil and you know, and so that kind of feels like its own thing. It kind of feels like the creative teams from Disney weren't involved in that, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think most seasons of those shows are really good.
Yeah.
But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. never had the full weight behind it.
Yeah.
And superheroes, they're weekly comics. Like this is people have pitched like a Spider-Man show for so long where he fights a different villain every week because that is what we're used to consuming. Like the original Amazing Spider-Man run, you get like Doc Ock, Electro, Sandman, Vulture, Mysterio, like back to back to back to back. They were just
Heavy
cranking them
hitters.
out. It's
Heavy
insane.
hitters.
Yeah. So like having that format for superhero stories would be really interesting. But I think it would have to be more like an anthology, like you're saying with Star Wars, because I feel like what we've seen of Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision, these shows kind of feel like they're one season long narrative. But I think it'd work better as like a weekly like hit, do the story, there we go. And
Yeah.
these characters are so fun, and they play off each other so well. So I'd be curious to see whether they do like a Young Avengers with like
wow.
Kamala Khan and maybe Wiccan, because we're doing WandaVision, like
Yeah.
Hulkling. These characters like do something like that and try it out on Disney Plus because again another benefit of this is like if you do Young Avengers or Miss Marvel by herself on Disney Plus and everybody loves it, it's like okay cool, Miss Marvel's in development now,
Yeah.
or she's joining the Avengers in the next movie.
But if
It's
you try
it's
to make
one
her
connected
movie on her own, like,
and then it tanks and like it's like
then that character suffers, even though their character's fine.
Disney Plus is it could be such a great springboard for some of these like lesser known characters because Guardians worked out, but it didn't have to.
Right.
Like it
really
could
could've
have
flopped.
crashed and burned.
Yeah.
And we don't know how. I'm optimistic for Eternals, but we don't know how it's going to turn out.
The
But
cast though,
it's so good. I think it'll be great. But you know,
but you never know.
You're right,
these new characters, and that kind of seemed like what they were doing with the Hawkeye show, which is kind of like word on the street is
Now it's in limbo,
not,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not confident
Which I'm
about it getting
upset
made.
because a lot of people don't like Hawkeye, but I feel
Yeah.
like this is what they need to
But
like Hawkeye.
Listen, like the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run is so good. Like showing Hawkeye as a normal dude, just like he's clearly not in the same league as the Avengers, and he knows that, and that's what makes him cool because he can still fight alongside them. And you know, and Kate Bishop is great. And so just adapting like that comic in a show, I think people would go nuts for. I think people would really like it, and it's perfect for Disney Plus. You can't really do a movie with the Matt Fraction run, but it's perfect for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Give Hawkeye Pizza Dog.
So Disney, if you're wondering, just walk into a comic book store, go to the Marvel section. There's some good source material.
Yeah,
for it.
there are just so many
House of
so
M.
many years and years and years of comics with all these side characters, and what Guardians of the Galaxy has proven is that Disney can take characters that people don't care about and be like, okay, well, this is this character, but it's really this character in name only. We're going to make this character what we want him to be. And it works so well that change is reflected into the comics and
Right.
forever in the cultural zeitgeist. Like, Star-Lord is not the son of Prince Jason anymore. Nobody cares about that. They want Chris Pratt Star-Lord.
Yeah.
So, like, just reinventing these characters and stories and doing it in a way that's original is so cool. Like, now they have X-Men. There are mutants on mutants on mutants. Pick one. Go pick a comic. Go to a random page, point at it, make that a Disney Plus show, because any story can be good if told in the right way.
Think about how many comics had the letter X in the title, whether it was New Mutants, whether
Yeah.
it was X-Men,
X-Men, X-Force, yeah.
Like Uncanny,
Mhm.
Astonishing, Amazing, Mighty, whatever. They're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but then the movies haven't been able to capture that quite. I mean, Days of Futures Past was excellent,
Right,
but like
right.
Apocalypse was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't even seen Dark Phoenix, but
Yeah.
but there's like you said, there's so many characters that you could do, and also I think they would benefit from making some Marvel animated shows.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Look at how well Into the Spider-Verse did. Granted, that was Sony, different
Right.
crew, different
Mhm.
team, but like Disney started on animation.
Yeah,
they
get-
know how to make animation.
Get the right
Yeah.
people behind it. And it's
Yeah.
like, have the prestige mutants in the X-Men movie, and then take some of the secondary ones and put them on Disney Plus, and then when
Or
people like them,
One of the
put them in the movie.
One of the most beloved animated shows of all time, The X-Men.
Exactly.
In the 90s.
That's what, like, do the
That's what
X-Men
made me
show.
love
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
You know.
I know. There's just an infinite
Give me-
realm of possibilities. It's like it's almost like it's just a matter of time.
Yeah,
you
please
know?
give me Gambit at
Yeah.
some point. Like,
You deserve it.
I don't need the Gambit movie with Channing Tatum. It's whatever, but give me Gambit for God's sakes. I miss Gambit. Remy LeBeau.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, only a matter of time before more and more comes out. I think that wraps up our discussion here. Our Disney Plus pitches.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
So we're gonna send this episode to Disney.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They can take all of our wonderful
Well,
ideas and we'll get no money.
Bob Iger is actually a regular watcher of our show. I don't know if you guys
so
knew
I
that.
mean,
but-
if he watches, you should watch.
Bob,
Come on.
Yeah.
if you're listening, leave Martin Scorsese alone and just give us a call.
Yeah, please.
Stop pestering him. Just call us.
Call us.
We'll meet with you. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for
Thank you
watching.
so
I'm
much.
Gianni,
I am Flynn.
I'm Luke.
and we'll catch you next time.